Hey everyone, how's it going? This is Blair Sinta. Welcome to the Recording Drums podcast. Today, my guest is Ashwin Sood. You will know Ash is playing from Sarah Mclachlan's records. I was a huge fan of Sarah Mclachlan back in the 90s. Still am, but really that record Surfacing that was so massive. I spent a lot of time listening to those great songs and frankly playing along with that record, and just really learning how to play simple. That was one of those seminal records for me to really learn to kind of like not be playing ghost notes and not be trying to just play too many notes. I just loved playing along to those songs. So it was super cool to talk to Ash. We met years ago when I was playing with Alanis Morissette. He shows us around the studio that he still works in, that him and Sarah built years ago. He also has a lo-fi project called Pantone Vu, which is slowly putting out music. You can find it on iTunes, the whole lo-fi chill thing, and we talk about that a bit. Cool to see his setup in that room where they're making music. If you're enjoying the podcast, please go to my website. You can download my free guide to the gear that I use in my studio here. If you ever have questions about that, it's a free PDF. I also have my courses for sale, Introduction to Recording and Improve Your Groove. They're sitting there on my website. That's it. All right, let's get to Ash. Super great guy. Really chill conversation. Here we go. And you're in Vancouver, yes?
Yeah.
That looks incredible. Wherever you are.
This is the studio that Sarah and I built 20 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd always wanted to, like every musician, you want your own, and this is before the home recording thing. We just wanted a place to be able to make our music on our own time, because Sarah she was sort of very fortunate that she never really had record companies giving her deadlines. Yeah. You need to get this record done. So it was a sort of a dream to build our own place where you could go and record when you felt inspired to. And it's, it's fantastic.
So you keep that's your gig. You keep that up and going and you're producing and.
Yeah. I mean, Sarah does, we were just working on her new music last week, actually. So it's a private studio. It's for her use. It's for my use. Any projects that she has that are, whatever she's doing or whatever I'm doing, it's a private studio.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not available to rent. I mean, close friends have come and use it.
Okay.
That kind of thing. But yeah, it's sort of interesting to sort of watch the evolution of home recording in the last 10 years. That's why I love going down the YouTube rabbit hole to look at people's home studio setups, because everybody's different.
Yeah.
And there's no right, there's no wrong. There's just consequences, and
yeah.
There's just I always say there's no right, there's no wrong, right. Just consequences.
Right. Wow, interesting, man. So everything you do in there is with Sarah. You're not doing outside projects in there?
If it's outside projects that I'm working on, I meant that I wouldn't rent this out to a band.
Oh, I see what you.
It's not a commercial. Involved. Yeah.
Yeah. No, okay, that's what I figured you meant. Yeah.
Exactly. So in a sense, it's a home studio that she used and I use for our projects.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And we were in here all last week working on some of her new music, and that was fun.
Okay.
And trying to figure out what is the evolution of this business that we are in. Watching, close musician friends over the last year, just fuck.
Yeah. That's crazy.
It's crazy. And the economics of, us being side guys and what that has turned into is also just like,
oh man. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
This idea of, you used to be able to charge X number of dollars to play on a project or play on a song, and you felt good about charging that. And now it's like, oh, and if you don't say yes to $100 a song, well, somebody else will do it. And you want to work, you want to play, you want to continue to be creative. So it's like, sure, I'll do it for $100 a song. Keeps me busy, keeps me playing. Right. But it's like, wow, really? That's what this has kind of become? I guess it kind of has.
Yeah. How much?
And the advent of everybody having some kind of studio at home thinking they can do it themselves.
Yeah, and drums being one of the more difficult things to do.
Of course.
Yeah.
But I've seen crazy, crazy, beautiful drum rooms. I've seen closets, it's just like, it's, people in their 1-bedroom apartments with their drums in their corner with some mics and a blanket and a little baffle. And it's like, well, there it is. That's what's happening.
And a lot of people do extremely cool shit like that.
Absolutely.
And that's part of why I'm doing this, is because I'm curious about, like, I see a beautiful room like yours, which, I know it's got to be great stuff coming out of there. And then the exact thing that you just described, and some guy or woman or whatever figures out something awesome to do in that space.
Yeah. It's the Wild West. I mean, it really is. Yeah. It's the one, but it's sort of, our we've been doing this for a while. So, we've put time and effort and patience and learning into learning how to get good sounds and having good equipment. And then it's hard to get your head around the economics of what it's become.
Yeah.
Not that I feel like, oh, this is my fee and I need to charge this. It's more that, I guess because people can get it done for really, really inexpensive, they assume that everybody, even us professional musicians, will do it for inexpensive. And a lot of the times they're probably right, because we just want to play.
Well, I think there's a fine line of...
Definitely.
There's a fine line of... Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, you got to say no, right? When it's...
Well, if you don't love the music...
Yeah.
If the music is fantastic and you're inspired, you're like, yeah, I really want to be involved in this. Mm-hmm. That's your budget. You know what? We'll find a way to make this work.
Exactly. Yeah. There's artistic level. There's a time commitment level.
Yeah.
For price.
Yep.
And sometimes those things will go hand in hand. You'll spend more time on something that you think is great.
Yeah. Because you want to do great. It's our nature to want to.
Yeah.
We want to do great.
Yeah. Or if you're polishing a turd, then you want to get paid better and spend less time on it.
You can only polish it so much. Yeah, and with technology these days, the turd can really be polished. Mm-hmm. You can cut, you can paste, you can edit, you can tune, you can sound, you can. It's so funny. I was having a conversation with a drummer who I won't name his name, because we got into quite a bit of a heated discussion. He's a A-list Nashville, one of the guys. You'd know his name if I told you. And we were talking about how, in the last year and a half, last couple of years, the home studio thing and drummers, and how that when we get sent something to record, and we, they're hiring us because they probably like the way we play. They've heard our music. They know we can get good sounds. And so there's a trust, right? They just trust us. And he was very sort of, nobody's allowed to cut my drums. Nobody's allowed to sound replace me. Nobody's allowed to edit anything I do. And I said, yeah, but hang on a second. You got hired. You sent them great work. Once those files leave your studio, they're not really yours anymore. The artist and the producer or whoever, they can do whatever they want. I don't get so attached, because I know in 2021 and in the evolution of how we're making music, once the files, you've sent them off, they can do whatever they want with them. I've been replaced.
Well, which is no different than going to an quote unquote real studio.
Sure.
Session.
Yeah.
And the minute you leave,
it's done.
Yeah. You got paid. You did your work. Yeah.
Yeah. It was quite an interesting discussion. It was almost on the verge of an argument. He was like, no, nobody's allowed to. I'm like, I don't think you can really control that
if that person has that control, I'm impressed.
Yeah, I think he maybe had some experiences where he realized that, oh, I've been replaced, or those are not my sounds, or this, that, and the other. And I was like, yeah, but if you got paid, you got to kind of wash your hands of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you engineering a lot? Have you been engineering for a long time? Yeah. This is you.
Yeah. I mean, I sort of got into recording and engineering when I was a teenager. I was always fascinated with it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to learn. So I've had a Fostex 4-track cassette machine. Yeah. I had a Fostex 1/4-inch tape machine.
Yeah.
I started collecting microphones and a little bit of outboard gear. So it's been a lifelong,
Okay, cool.
kind of obsession, from like reading about the Beatles and how they recorded.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to do that. I want to do it that simply also.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always been, I'm an okay engineer. There's an engineer who we work with in the studio all the time. I trust his ears a lot more than mine, but I've learned so much from him, and working with producers over the years, asking questions over and over again about why is that microphone there and why, so asking lots of questions, and then you can kind of do it on your own. I don't like to do it on my own that much because there's so much back and forth thing and getting, rather than just sitting down playing, somebody captures your sounds. Yeah. We're doing it all ourselves,
right?
So it takes a lot more time,
right?
But I like that we have the knowledge to, where to, which put a good mic here, pop in that compressor, do a little EQ, get some good level. Wow, this sounds good. Mm-hmm. It's not rocket science,
right? Are you comfortable with other instruments and or vocals?
I am comfortable. Yeah, I'm comfortable with guitars and acoustic guitars. Vocals a little bit, but I kind of leave that to our engineer. He's, he's captured everything Sarah has sang in the last 24 years beautifully. So,
and who is that?
His name is Chris Potter.
Okay.
Yeah. So Chris lives in Vancouver. He was Bryan Adams's engineer for the longest time. Okay. Helped Bryan build the warehouse studio here in Vancouver.
Okay.
And then Chris got quite burnt out working with Bryan.
Okay.
So he sort of went freelance, and I had worked with him. Sarah and I had worked with him, and I started picking his brain about, we want to build our own room.
Okay.
And he was quite excited about that because it was something from scratch.
Okay.
So he was very much, we sort of had the concept of the room, which is everything is in the room here. Like the console is here.
Nice.
The drums are there.
Oh, crazy. Okay.
Yeah. Pianos. There's 2 big pianos there.
Look at that. Okay.
Yeah. And there is an isolation room back there.
In my mind, before I saw those drums, I was like, the drums must be back there.
Yeah. So the drums are right beside the console. This is kind of a concept that Sarah's producer, Pierre Machon, when we were working with him a lot.
Yep.
I love the idea that everything was in the same room. Yep. Literally, the drums were right beside the console. We'd put headphones on, we'd get sounds, take the headphones off, go back and listen.
Yep.
He would conduct me when I played, or he'd take the headphones off and look at me. Are you okay? Do you need a break? It was very much that. I never have been a fan of the glass.
Okay.
The control room glass thing. I've done it a little bit, but not much.
Okay.
I like the idea that we can all be in the same room. We can push stop. We can take our headphones off. We can have a conversation. We can get right back to it.
So you'll have bass multi instruments happening in the same room. Sometimes not more than 2 or 3 people playing at once in here. Like I've been on the kit where Sarah's been on the piano. Okay. I'm playing quite quietly, and our engineer here is recording, and a bass player. Okay, cool.
Yeah. If it's something quiet too, because of the piano and open mics and whatnot.
And that could turn into a take, into a track. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, that would be the idea. Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But usually, there's no more than 2 or 3 musicians. I can't remember. I mean, last week we were all playing in here together, and that hadn't happened for a long time.
Oh, cool.
Just in terms of more than a couple of musicians in a room. That just hasn't happened. I mean, I can't remember the last time I went to one of the studios here in Vancouver and did like a session with a bass player, a guitar player. I can't even remember.
Yeah. For me, I did a couple early in 2021, but it was super signed the documentation. Everybody really they have ISO booths, and you don't leave your ISO booth. But then I've done a few, I think by the summer, where I was sitting in a room with a bass player and
awesome
like that, and had people over here.
Yeah.
And I still have people wear masks when they come over, but
Yep.
Oh, I didn't lose you. Okay, my computer just flipped out for a second. All right, good.
Oh. And you're in your home studio right now, yes?
Yeah, my room is very small. It's a 2-car garage, and I built it out. And this is the control side, and right through here is the drum room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
During the lockdown, were you spending a lot of time experimenting, trying to keep busy, recording for fun?
For me, at the beginning of lockdown, it was pretty crazy. Like, because everybody was home, and I got a lot of work. Like, everybody wanted to record at the first,
right?
And they were just, stimulus checks, and people were like, "Woohoo!"
Yeah.
So at the beginning, it was great, and then it kind of actually sent me down this path a little bit. The podcast flash, because I'd been doing some Patreon stuff, and I thought, oh, why don't I put this stuff out on a course? Because I was literally having multiple calls a week of drummers saying like, hey, dude, can you help me get going? Like, talk me through this, So I started doing some lessons on Zoom. So it kind of sent me down this path more than I meant to,
But you've had your room for how long have you had?
So I had a different house back in 2003, and I built a kind of half-assed studio, let's say. It was more like, hey, I need a place to practice.
Practice room, right.
And it would be cool to record there too. It was definitely recording intended.
Yeah.
But then I moved in this house in 2009, and we were about to have a baby, and I was like, okay, I need a place that I can play at midnight.
Yes.
If that's the only time I'm going to be able to play drums and record. So, and by that time I was pretty serious about wanting to be able to do this.
Yeah.
Create a career out of the home thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's quite incredible what has happened with the home recording thing.
Yeah.
In some ways, I love the old school recording studios, also the history of them. And, when you hear about so many of them closing down, you understand why it's happened, and that part of it's sad, but isn't it great that we can do this thing in our own building, our own room?
Yeah.
It's sort of that, when I've worked at Capitol in LA or at Sunset Sound, it's just, you walk around this, I get such a sense of what has happened in I want to capture some of the, maybe that'll seep into me somehow,
Yeah.
But, I was going to say the evolution of the drummer's practice room that has turned into a recording room in the last number of years has probably been quite
many of those stories. Yeah. Are you bringing like outside of Sarah, what kind of work are you usually bringing in there? Is it like literally commercial or TV and film, or is it more like
it's
songs or
songs, singer songwriter? It's all people sending me stuff. There's a few things I've done with artists that are here in Vancouver, based in Vancouver. I did a record a couple of years ago with this Australian singer-songwriter, and we did his whole record here.
Okay.
But most of the stuff, it gets sent to me.
Okay.
It's send you the files, send them back lots of ideas. That's everything these days. Everything.
So, and what kind of board is that you guys have there?
This is Avid's Icon. It's the first console it's the Pro Tools console.
Oh, wow. Okay. Right. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing in it. It's all controls, all the software.
Okay.
But I liked the tactile moving faders, turning knobs.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to go down that road of putting an SSL in or a Neve in, because that requires a full-time tech. It just does. Mm-hmm. And it was actually our engineer, Chris, who said, because this is a home studio, if you were building a commercial studio and there was going to be a lot of traffic, then sure, put in an SSL, put in a Neve. But so this is the very first icon that came to Canada, and now they don't support it anymore.
Wow.
So we're now getting to that point of okay, we may have to, it works. Nothing is broken on it. But if a knob breaks or a slider breaks, we can't get parts for it anymore.
So are you on an old Pro Tools version, or is
no, brand new, using Pro Tools 2021? Yeah. but it's, all the faders move and you can, pop in your EQs and turn knobs and pop in your compressor and turn knobs. It's that tactile.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to stare. I don't want to be on the mouse all the time. Yeah. I kind of like the old school way of reaching a bit. Oh, I'm going to reach over. I'm going to reach over here. And there's something just a bit more tactile about it. Yep. But, some of the new, anyway, we'll see what happens when this thing breaks down and be like, oh God.
Right.
Now where to go. But
so if you're recording a drum track,
yes.
Are you running back and forth, or are you able to control the board from where you're sitting?
Yeah, I've got my iPad over there. I don't have it here, but the Avid has that iPad, Avid Control, I think it's called.
Okay.
So when you can go into that mode, I can monitor from over there. I can put it in record from over there.
Okay.
I can listen back from over there.
Yeah. And set up headphone sends or whatever you need.
Headphones. I can control the mix from over there.
Does the phaser physically move on the board?
Yes.
When you?
Yeah.
Okay, that's kind of fun.
Yeah, it is fun. No, and I sort of make sure I'm looking over going, is it actually moving? Oh, it is moving. Right. Okay, everything is working.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's a pretty nice way to work. It's I've just gotten used to it. And then sometimes I'll forget my iPad at home, and then it's just a bit of back and forthing. But the mics are always up.
Yep.
I change mics once in a while, change drums once in a while, but the mics are always up. The inputs are always the same.
Yeah.
My patch rarely changes.
Okay. So you like, if you want to change things, you're going drum changes, tuning changes. That's really the.
Yeah, but I'll also like, let's try something different on the snare drum, for crying out loud. Let's move some mics around. Let's try some strange mics. I've collected a lot of microphones over the years, and it's like, let's use these. Let's pull these out. I've gotten some new wacky old stuff, and so you're just
tell me about it.
Yeah, well,
what's the wacky old stuff? I want to.
Yeah, well, I got one of these. I don't know if you can see it. It's hanging up top. It's a STC BBC ball and biscuit microphone.
Okay, don't know that. Okay.
Yeah, so it's the talkback microphone that used to live in the console that Jeff Emmerich would talk to the Beatles in.
Okay, cool.
And then when the Beatles were in the big room, there was one hanging above them. So when they talked, and I had heard that Abbey Road had a bunch of these that were never used. Ah. I was going down the rabbit hole one night. Mm-hmm. I was like, where are these microphones? So I got in touch with an engineer, a sort of a second engineer who I had met years and years ago at Abbey Road. And I had asked him about these microphones. He was like, how do you know about these? I'm like, well, I know about them from Beatles lore. Mm-hmm. I said, are they still around? He goes, yeah, we never use them. I said, do you know if they work? He goes, not a clue. And I said, well, if you ever want to sell one, oh, mate, Abbey Road never sells anything. I said, well, yeah, fair enough. I understand that. But if you have 4 that are lying in a a year later, he reached out to me. Oh. And he said, I'll sell you one. And it was not expensive. And got it here and got it rewired. And it hangs above me.
Okay.
And it's wacky, different, mono, funky.
Is it lo-fi, crunchy?
It is pretty lo-fi.
Yeah, okay, cool.
But, nobody likes grand, giant drum sounds anymore. Everybody wants dead, quiet, small sounds, which I actually love.
Yeah.
I actually love it. It's so interesting when I have Sirius XM radio, so I'm constantly going between, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the Yacht Rock channel, which is basically all Jeff and Michael McDonald, every single song. And it's so fantastic to listen to those drum sounds, because it's like, oh my goodness, they're so dry. They're so dead. They're so right there. I love that. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's my age. I mean, I'm sure it has to do something with my age, but when people are asking for drum sounds these days, I'm like, do you want the room mics? Because I have, a stereo pair in the corner. They're like, nah, we don't need room sound. We can also create room sound. I'm like, yep, fair enough. Yeah. They want small. They like dead, tape, bandana.
Right.
It's why, I mean, it's the evolution of, sound a bit.
Yeah. Your room seems like large-ish in size, but also it seems like it's pretty dry. I'm guessing.
Yeah. It's somewhere in the middle. Sometimes I will put the drums in the small room.
Okay.
Yeah. The drums have been here for 20 years. And so I was in the last couple of years, I was like, And sometimes we'll baffle it completely. I have the parachute above the console here. Sometimes I'll put the parachute above the kit.
Okay.
Just to change up.
Yep.
Yeah, generally this room sound it's a little bit live. It's not too live. There is quite a bit of glass in here, but everything's on a corner. There's lots of big carpets in here, so we can control the sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the dry thing is crazy because my room is very small, but still fairly live for how small it is.
Yeah.
But it's almost like a competition to how dead, how dead can you get it,
Never dead enough.
Yeah.
Never dead enough.
Yeah. What's one of the, so I saw you did a Stevie Nicks track. Yeah.
Yeah. On her, Pierre had done a couple of songs with her on her, what was the record called? Trouble in Shangri-La.
Okay.
It's many, many years ago now, but she came to Vancouver.
Okay.
And she actually stayed with us. Ooh. Because her and Sarah had sort of become friends, and she was up in our house for 4 days. And there she is sitting at our piano by the fireplace. And she comes with her backup singers. They're always with her. Uh-huh. Sharon and what was it, Lori? I know Marilyn Martin is singing with her now, but they go with her everywhere. Mm-hmm. So it was weird. But there they were in our living room. And I was just, I'm just like, this can't be happening, and she was like, easygoing and telling us stories. And I was just like, this is crazy. But we ended up doing a couple of songs with her, and that was a blast. Yeah. And that was actually, we were all playing live almost off the floor. And she was in a vocal booth singing to me, playing drums. Sarah was playing piano. I think we had Sarah's bass player was playing bass. There was a guitar player. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Right. That's really cool. One of the things, it's funny, I'm going through surfacing in my head now, the album. And thinking about, one of the things I always love, especially in like the late 90s, is the whole trip hop thing, but the kind of how acoustic drums and electronics were blending back then. And those records stuck out to me.
Right.
It's like, I don't know if it was Pierre, maybe you had a hand in all that stuff too, but how that was all like, working together at that time.
Yeah, it was definitely a combination. Pierre loves electronics. He loves programming. Mm-hmm. When I went to PIT, mm-hmm. When I moved to LA in 86, I bought an 808 for $200 the third week I was there.
Cool.
Yeah. And I wanted, because I've always loved early Genesis, early Phil Collins, British electronic music where they were I wanted to learn how to program drum machines.
Okay.
And PIT had a little bit of a program that Eddie Rossetti was running, where they had a room with a bunch of, there was a emulator in there and some Roland stuff. And so we would learn a little bit, but I wanted to go deep. I wanted to go deep into learning how to program drum machines and incorporate them into using acoustic drums also.
Okay.
So Pierre and I loved experimenting with that stuff together.
Okay.
And we would spend a long time doing it too, and going down one road for a long time. No, it's not working. Let's try something else. So it was nice to have the time, because we didn't really have record company under the gun saying, so Pierre and I he would come up with parts. I would come up with parts. Oh, let's put live drums on this. Oh, now, and we were recording to radar. Surfacing was done on a radar machine.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So radar you could edit on a radar, but it was limited.
Yeah.
It's not the way now in Pro Tools when if you're, cutting acoustic drums with electric drums, you can really manipulate and get things sounding really cool.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I love doing, is spending hours and hours. I'll program, and then I'll put real drums and just find interesting ways to put it all together. I love doing that. I've always loved it.
Yeah. What was some of your favorite drum machines to use then?
MPC.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. It was primarily the MPC.
Okay. Where were you finding sounds then for that?
Pierre had a whole whack of sounds. We would make our own sounds.
Yeah. Okay.
A lot of it making our own sounds and then tuning them, cutting them, manipulating them.
Okay.
Like hours and hours, like Egghead.
Yeah.
Like, working on a snare drum sound for how long just to get, it was fully egghead. And now with the Roland Cloud, you can get all the Roland drum machines. I started to collect drum machines for years and years, and I have every single Roland drum machine ever made.
Cool.
And now I'm trying to sell them all because I just don't use them.
Right.
Because now they're all in the cloud and they're so much easier to program, and they sound just as good.
Right. The samples are there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're there. And I've done the blind tape. I've spent weeks here with an 808 and a 909 and a 303 and listening to the sounds on the cloud. And it's like, these sound great. It's time to sell this stuff.
So when you would tour on those records back then, were you running an MPC with the full track, or how were you running sounds back then?
No, so I would sample into my Akai samplers.
Yep.
Basically loops.
Okay.
And I would start and stop loops, and I would play with a click when I needed to. Yep.
Yeah.
I would have I had Roland V drums out with me, and I used sort of half the pads as Roland sounds and half the pads as triggers through a drum cat.
Yep. Okay.
So my drum cat. The first time one of the first times touring with Sarah, it was just a drum cat triggering an Akai sampler. So start, stop, play with a click, make sure you're in time.
Yeah.
It worked really well, So we were never really locked to a sequencer or locked to Pro Tools or locked to Logic.
Okay.
Which these days a lot of people, and that works great also.
Right.
I liked the idea that if something went wrong, I could stop it right away.
Yeah.
I could have complete control rather than the keyboard player having control. I wanted to have control of the electronic sounds, of the rhythm stuff.
We're talking about Vince Jones.
I love Jonesy. Jonesy was just here all last week working with Sarah.
Was he? He called me like a month ago. I owe him a phone call. Yeah.
Yeah. Jonesy, I love that man.
Yeah.
Love him to death. He's such a lovely human being.
He really is. Yeah.
Yeah. So Jonesy was here last week, and I wasn't planning on coming in to work on it or work on Sarah's new music. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing? Come on in. Let's play some drums." Like, let's do it. And then it's funny. I got here, and
That's
then
a good invitation.
and there were some drums already on a song. I'm like, "Vince, these sound great." I'm like, "These sound like my drums." He goes, "Oh, I was playing your kit." I'm like, "Oh, good." He goes, I said, "Vince, it's totally in time and feels great." He goes, "Oh, I spent half a day chopping it." I'm like, "Oh." But anyway, I love
That's so Vince.
Yeah.
So Vince.
Oh, yeah.
He gets very clean sounds. It's like incredibly clean. Yeah.
Yeah. No, Vince is a phenomenal musician.
Yeah.
I've known Vince since I first started making music here in this town.
Okay.
He's Canadian.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's been playing in Sarah's band since, when did we hire Vince? Surfacing campaign.
Wow.
97.
Yeah.
No, sorry, Mirrorball. Anyway, long time.
I think you're right. I think your first recollection is right.
Yeah, Surfacing campaign.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was not on the Fumbling Towards Ecstasy tour. That was Dave Kershaw, old previous keyboard player.
He's doing very well too down here.
Yeah, no, he was telling me he did the what's the guitar player from Alice in Chains?
Jerry Cantrell.
Jerry Cantrell. He did his record, and Vince was telling me the TV stuff he's doing. He seems to be keeping busy. I mean,
yeah, the TV thing I think it's doing well for him. Yeah.
Yeah, which is great.
Yep.
Yeah. I hope he'll go on the road with Sarah again, if she ever goes on the road again. I hope he will, because he's great. You need a Vince Jones in your band to run the ship.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great. He's a phenomenal player.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Great dude to have around. What else do you like to do in there besides? I mean, do you write? How about let me ask you that? Are you writing on your own? Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a lo-fi chill ambient instrumental project. Yeah, that just came out on Network 2 months ago.
What's it called?
It's called Pantone Vu.
Okay.
And I have a writing partner in Toronto. His name's Ken Harrison. We've been working together for 15, 20 years. And when the lockdown happened, we were just sending 2-3 minute instrumental pieces back and forth to each other for no other reason than to just
do something. Yeah.
vanity project. Let's do something. I don't know what and then we ended up having 25, 30 pieces, finished pieces. And I still work with all the guys at Network Music. Okay. And they were like, what have you been up to? And I said, we're just working on these sort of instrumentals. Oh, send them to us. Sent them to him. And half an hour later, Rick Arboit, one of the principals at Network, called me up, goes, we love this. We want to put this out. And I'm like, what do you mean you want to put this out? Well, what is this? I'm like, I don't know. It's just Ken and I. Well, you need a band name. I'm like, so we signed a little deal with Network, and we're putting out a song every 3 weeks. And Apple added us to their Today's Chill playlist right away. And I was like, what?
Right.
I'm 54 years old, man.
Yeah.
New music? What? So it's fun.
So like, how do you go about, like, are you going for very specific drum tones and or like minimal miking, or how are you doing that?
Yeah, I mean, it's very lo-fi, and sometimes it's one mic on the drums, maybe a couple, and it's very small sounding at times. It's not big. It's not. And Ken and I would just send files back and forth. He's got a big modular system, so he would put a lot of my drums through his modular, and it was fully experimental with no end game. And then when we started getting a bit of feedback from Network, they were actually saying, some of this sounds too hi-fi for lo-fi.
Right.
And so then when I was mixing it here, it was very much almost referencing lo-fi playlists to going, oh, wow. Some of the stuff really sounds like it took them 2 minutes to make it. Yeah. Like they did not spend that much time on this.
Right.
So it was sort of, okay, how do we dumb this down a little bit or make us a little more lo-fi so it fits into that genre? It's quite fascinating.
Yeah, it's like very like a band past everything and then not have a lot going on, right?
No, it's minimal instrumentation.
Yeah.
And rhythm sounds that are not necessarily drum sounds.
Right.
There's some great plugins out the Teletone Audio. They've got there's this thing called the Clevgrand, the Slammer, and the Tink Tonk, and like weird little drum machines that are just like, it's very much stuff that sounds like Aaron Sterling's sample pack stuff.
Okay.
Like, here's the sound of a pick dropping on let's record that.
Right.
And that's a backbeat.
Right.
So it's very much stuff like that. So I would spend a lot of time, I would record some drums, bring it in, record it into the session, find some different sounds, put it together, come up with an idea, send it off to Ken. He would send it back to me. And it was great. I'm like, this is such a creative, fun, no pressure to be anything way to work. Mm-hmm. And I'm really enjoying it.
So you guys you're still making.
Yeah, no, we have a record deal. We have a commitment of a bunch of music. Right, a bunch of music over a period of time. So it's like, okay, we got to get to work. So it's really fun.
What's your process? You come out and you just like whatever you feel like playing that day, you throw a click on and play and then start chopping or what?
Yeah. Or I will fire up a drum machine, fire up one of these wacky drum machines, program something, then go to the kit, put up a couple of mics, play with it, then maybe cut it up, put it together. That's it. Yeah, or I'll fire up some of the wacky keyboards, come up with some interesting bass lines, a nice little Rhodes piano riff. I mean, I play a little bit of keyboards, enough to sort of compose really slowly, but I would not call myself a keyboard player. Sure. But with technology, I could be a keyboard player, a little bit of a keyboard player.
There are many drummers out there too that.
Yes, there are. Yes, there are.
And how do you think about form when you're doing that? Are you thinking about form like as you're doing it, or is it really just like that'll?
Yes, I mean sometimes it's form based, where it's this is the verse, this is the chorus, but then sometimes it's almost a 2.5 minute groove over a few chords that evolves into something and then tears apart into like there's no rules really with that music like at all.
No, I know. I like to turn it on like when I'm emptying the dishwasher or whatever. Like seriously, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, for me, I've always have a playlist of instrumental music playing in my house all the time. Yeah. I'm not so good at listening to music at home with lyrics. Like I won't put on my favorite album because I like to listen to albums and actually, remind myself why I fell in love with this album. So I will often put on, lo-fi beats playlist or Buddha Bar Lounge. When the Buddha Bar CDs came out way back in the day, I loved those so much.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's no real rules.
Yeah.
Other than song length, and don't polish it too much.
Are there certain ones there's certain tracks or artists that come on and you recognize them at this point, or you're like, oh, it's been a particular inspiration?
It's pretty faceless.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, it's pretty faceless.
Okay.
It's not like listening to Air. The band, the French electronic duo Air. It's Air. Yeah. By the tempo, by the Wurlitzer, or when you hear Massive Attack, it's Massive Attack. So the lo-fi chill world, there's a lot of artists.
Yeah.
There are, and most of them are bedroom eggheads.
Yep.
They really are. Because after sort of going into this world and doing some research and seeing that some of these guys are just eggheads on their laptop, literally.
Yeah.
Doing it for fun.
Yeah.
They don't even really call themselves musicians.
Right.
They got a
lot of it's just a loop, and maybe they chop it or whatever, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that stuff seems to, it doesn't really have any, when I listen to these playlists, I will pick up, I remember why I liked this. It's got an interesting feel or different sounds, or I love what the drum, how they cut up that drum thing. And so there's, certain things that your ear will gravitate to. So go ahead.
Are you diving into the slinky, misplaced triplet?
I can't stand it.
Oh, really?
I can't stand it.
Okay.
I think because it's gotten so, who plays that stuff really well is the other Ash Sohn.
Oh yeah.
UK Ash. And he's an Instagram whore, that man, and I'm not really on social media because I got bullied years ago. Okay. On social media, working in the studio with Sarah.
Okay.
And so I was like, I'm not doing the social media thing, but once in a while I'll jump online and see what, and Ash he's doing all that.
Yeah, he's great.
And he's great. I don't know. I find it interesting for a short period of time, and then I find it really annoying.
Okay, cool.
It's just a personal ear thing.
Yeah, no, it's
just a personal, and now everybody is doing it. Everybody, it's like the gospel chops drummer thing.
Yeah. I mean,
I got so exhausted by it.
Right. Because it can be done very non-musically, or it can be done very musically.
Yeah, and to seek out that's you said it perfectly. The unmusical stuff where it was just a blast of chops.
Yeah.
In a pop song was just like, if I ever did that in the bands I were, I'd be fired so fast. Sure. But yeah.
It's just the right context. Like for me,
sure.
Not to go down this road, but I will for a second. It's like, I remember seeing Gerald Hayward back in the day with Mary J. Blige. Being like, what the hell is happening back there? It's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. Gerald was doing that on Mary J. Blige toured on Lilith.
Oh yeah.
Way back in the day. And then I saw him play with Rob Thomas.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah. When I think it was Rob Thomas's first solo album from Matchbox 20. And I saw Gerald and I went up to him. I can't remember if it was a festival. I'm like, what are you doing? You're playing with Rob Thomas? I said, he goes, yeah, dude, I'm trying to stretch it out and change it up. I'm like, that's awesome. Yeah. And Gerald is awesome. I haven't seen him for a long time.
I don't know him at all, but
man, I haven't seen him for eons.
Beautiful player. Yeah.
Awesome player.
Yeah. Yeah. Great, man. So you're going to bring a lo-fi chill to like Sarah's stuff? Or
that's up to her, not up to me.
I got these beats.
Well, no, I mean, yeah, sometimes she'll come down when I'm working here and she'll, well, what are you doing? I said, I'm just making some fun, making some beats. And she'll sometimes sit down at the piano and play. And I said, why don't we record you? And we'll record her sometimes. There's no pressure for, We never wrote together, and we did on purpose.
Okay.
We played together. We were married. We didn't need to write together also.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
But she's slowly working on new music, I think. Very slowly.
I hope so.
I hope so too. I'm like, get your butt out there and make a new record.
It's good to see you, man. Good to talk.
Really good to talk to you.
Tell Sarah I said hi.
Absolutely, I will.
I think she'll remember me, but yeah.
I'm sure she would. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's good to see you. I'll see you soon.
All right, Ash. Take care, man.
Take care, buddy.
Man. Bye.
Bye.